Sure, abuti honestly.
I need your assistance because it is an important issue because there are cost escalations as well for the road accident fund as a consequence.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, the mere fact that another organ of state is dealing with a particular matter doesn't mean that the committee is excluded or prevented from dealing with the same matter, because the roles and purposes is very distinct. So nothing would prevent the committee from looking at it. I do think the committee has already received an answer on the question. The question has been posed to the RAF, and they've indicated that the reason that they got rid of the panel of attorneys was as a cost-saving measure, because it would have been cheaper to go via the state attorney. Whether that is factually correct or not, obviously, that must still be tested. I do think, though, Chair, it will organically come into the evidence when we deal with the very first bullet point on the governance failures, and particularly the fact that that legal services department wasn't fully equipped and there were key positions there that weren't filled. So I think that evidence related to this, you're going to end up hearing it, and we can certainly ask questions when the time comes.
Thank you. So may I make a suggestion? I take the point that you're making. May I make a suggestion nonetheless, so that it is clear? My worry is that we may not provide an adequate opportunity, and perhaps it's under the legal expenses section, right, that we add a bullet that says, please just go up, Denzel, to the legal. Go lower, legal and litigation expenditure, right? So maybe the first bullet should be that to look into the extent and the reasons for the road accident funds legal or legal costs or legal and related costs. If we do that, it helps us to cover that, because there are other issues as well that arise. So I don't want us to leave it to leave it in thin air and say it will come up. That will then give the road accident fund the opportunity to say, in thinking about our legal costs, these were the things that we considered, these were the decisions that we took, and then provide the necessary evidence, and then we can look into those matters because they arise therefrom. I don't know if I'm making sense. Would that be helpful?
Chair, more important than the reasons is for the committee to consider the financial impact. Nothing in law would prevent any entity from determining that it would be better suited to use one method instead of another. So I think the focus should rather be, and this is the way I've captured it now, the financial impact of the decision to use the state attorney in favor of a panel of attorneys. Something along those lines, because perhaps the numbers show something different to what we're assuming.
All right, thank you very much. So basically, we just say the financial impact. What that financial impact is, we will then be presented with in the inquiry, and we can reach a conclusion. Okay, I think that's helpful. So we will frame it like that, so that we do address the point and we don't leave it hanging. I don't know if that helps. So sorry, Honorable Skosa, are you still on this specific point? Because Honorable Madla and Honorable Kupeka had two parts to his, and I need us to deal with the second part of it and not forget it, if that is okay. So the second part of Honorable Kupeka's intervention pertained to the issue of non-South Africans or illegal immigrants or unlawful immigrants to South Africa, who then submit a claim, and the Constitution allows that they do. So let me place this on the table. So since we said we're doing an inquiry, I have, for instance, received a letter from a representative of medical aids, right? My consideration of the letter is that it is asking us to get into a territory of either the litigation that is ongoing or the job of the Portfolio Committee on Transport. In that I could not see in it where, in terms of the advice that we've got, we'd end up with a conclusion that, so basically their gripe is their members are losing out. Now, I don't know if it's our job to work out whether their members are losing out. The matter is in the courts, number one. Number two, we are concerned with losses to the state. Resolving the legal matters involved in that issue is not, I think, something that I think we are competent in. Similarly, with the issue of foreign nationals, Honorable Kupek, I don't know if we can resolve. I think the Portfolio Committee may decide that, you know what, we need to change the law, for example, which they are quite empowered to do. So I don't know. I mean, I'm placing the dilemma on the table because the two fall into a similar category. They don't, in the end, go back to what we are dealing with here, which is the efficient use of government money. But can I ask your advice if that's okay?
Chair, that matter doesn't deal directly, as you say, with the allegations and the scope of what this inquiry is about. Nothing prevents the committee from making a referral either to the Portfolio Committee or, for example, to the Constitutional Review Committee to say, look at this particular issue, because that issue that's being raised now obviously has constitutional implications. But it's not something that I would focus on as an exclusive area here, because I can't see that it's tied to any of the allegations as such. That is just a factual matter that, as things currently stand, that these payments are made to foreign nationals. So that is something I would think that the Portfolio Committee would be better suited at dealing with. But nothing would prevent the committee in recommendations to say that during the hearing it's come to our attention that X amount is spent on this, and we are concerned that expenditure is too much and it could be curbed through legislative review, and that has to be considered elsewhere.
Okay, then may I propose the following then, in light of that advice, that perhaps I don't think it's something that we litigate as a standalone, that to the extent that this is an issue and the RAF looks at the state, the impact on its own finances and that kind of thing, they feel that it's an issue they need to raise with the committee. We provide them with the opportunity to do that. We are just not the committee to solve it. The committee to solve it would be the Portfolio Committee on Transport, the Constitutional Review Committee, etc., etc. So, but that opportunity, if the RAF wishes to ventilate that matter, then is provided. I don't know if that suffices, Honorable Kubek, because we're limited in what we can do given our scope.
I hear the legal advice, Chair, but I've got a bit of an issue with it, in that whatever it is that we're looking at here, we're looking at mismanagement of funds and how funds are spent. And if it's government money that is being spent in a way that this committee sees as something that is a wasteful expenditure, paying foreigners is a wasteful expenditure, as far as I'm concerned. But I will take the advice of the House and we'll continue. Thank you, Chair.
No, thanks, Honorable Kupeka. Look, I don't think we can accuse the RAF of mismanaging if they are forced by the law to do it, right? Yeah, so we can't, however, it's something that needs to be looked at. Yeah, okay. No, I thank you for that. Honorable Skosan?
Thank you, Chair. You know, it reminds me when someone says law is the law, the execution of Solomon Mahlangu, the judge said it's the law of the country. And we know today that was completely wrong. The law can be wrong as well. I mean, the issue that illegal immigrants, constitutionally, for me, the courts as well, as you said, you know, perhaps not on this forum, on another forum. I was shocked as well to say, you are illegal, but constitutionally you are. What was that? What was that? You know, we can't, I mean, we are lawmakers now, here in Parliament, though it's all about numbers. But we can't be ruled by 11 people in this country and say law is a law. If they are wrong, we must tell them that they are wrong. We must amend this law. Those powers were given by the voters in this country. It will depend in Parliament whether do we agree or we don't agree. But the issue is that when something is wrong, we must say it here. Whether it's the Constitution says that, which now poke the issue about the Constitution in this country that is the best in the world. Now we are finding out that is not the best in the world. It's the best for those who are privileged, maybe. But for us, taxpayers' money, how do you pay somebody illegally and say it's a law? It's nonsensical, to say the least. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Honorable Skosana. So I will say, you know, the beauty of our system is that the judges cannot create something that this parliament cannot apply something this parliament did not create. So it's never their fault. it's never their fault. They're doing what we as legislators have told them they must do. So that's the first thing. In the event that any of us feel that a law or the Constitution don't work, it's really within our power to then facilitate the necessary amendments to do. No, thank you very much. I'll come to Honorable Atkinson and then you, Honorable Beasley.
Chair, in all honesty, as you said earlier about the medico-legal claims and them not being, or the medical aids not being paid, and the issue of foreigners, I mean, it's not really in the scope of this committee because it's actually a policy issue, and it's something that should be dealt with by the Department of Transport. So when they rewrite the RAF legislation, it's something that they should be looking at. So I don't think it's something that we should be debating at the moment in this committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Look, I think there is a specific limitation that we've been given, which is to the extent that the RAF wants to show impact on its financial state, they can. Right? What we recommend thereafter is up to us, but we're not litigating the constitutionality of it. They may say that, look, one of the things that's putting us in a bad financial situation is XYZ. Thank you. Honorable Beasley.
Thanks, Chair. Just moving on under 4.1.3, do we need to specify what areas of procurement we're particularly worried about in terms of contracts, just if the legal can give, just for my own education, because it's quite broad. So when people come here, they're going to say, well, we don't know. So do we need to specify 1, 2, 3 areas that need to be looked into? Thank you.
Yes, that was the advice. So there are two things. There are questions that arise out of information supplied by the RAF. There are also detailed external allegations, detailed allegations from whistleblowers pertaining to the same. So the agreement is we don't just look at everything. We look at specific areas that the committee believes are pertinent to look at.
So when would those be noted, Chair? Just so we're obviously going to approve the terms of reference sometime. So
just advise us here, where do we then, should we provide a more definitive sub-bullet in terms of what we're looking at, or how do we deal with that? Because it says alleged procurement irregularity. So when it says alleged, there has to be an allegation. Absent of an allegation, we're not going to go on a fishing expedition. I don't know if that's correct.
So, Chair, ideally you'd want to include a list. It doesn't necessarily have to be a closed list, but a list at least of the first 2 or 3. As I said, part of the inquiry is that it is an organic process and things would crop up as we're inquiring and as we gather information. But certainly at the point where we are inviting people to come and testify before the committee, we would need to put them in a position where they are aware on what the matters are that they're going to be questioned on and what they relate to. So if the committee is able to provide more detail, we can certainly insert that now.
All right, thank you. So I think, Honorable Beasley, this is fine, because one of the things that may happen is that once we publish the terms of reference and somebody knows of an instance, they've got to be able to alert the committee in time. In other words, it encourages more whistleblowing. So I don't know if we can be definitive at this point. So let's leave it at alleged. Thank you. Thank you very much. Shall we go to 4.1? We're actually at 4.1.4. We're almost there.
Sure, I would do honestly.